So my next guest is Mathew Ingram. He used to work for the Fortune magazine, and now he's starting with the Columbia Journalism Review. And you had actually a talk about the power of Facebook, but also the force of Facebook when it comes to journalism, because they have different perspectives, how to help journalists, but what's also in for Facebook. And you're not that optimistic.
I guess I want media companies to be more thoughtful about what they're doing with Facebook. Everyone, I think, thinks, oh, Facebook is really big, and so we should put all our content on there, and Facebook wants video, so we should do more video, and lots of media companies are hiring huge teams of people to do this stuff. Facebook wants those things for its own purposes. Facebook's main raison d'etre is not to help media companies. Media is like this much of what Facebook does. So Facebook wants to do things that benefit Facebook. And in some cases, some of those things may help media companies, but in some cases they may not. And I would rather the media companies thought a bit more about what are they getting versus what is Facebook getting.
Yeah, but from my point of view, so three things are radically changing at the moment. So the distribution model, how people will get the news or get journalism, the storytelling mode, how people are telling stories or how journalists need to tell the stories on mobile platforms, on very linear usage. And the third model, what's changing is the business model, how make media outlets money by doing what they do. And isn't it cheaper to test three different changes on platforms I don't have to build, and later on to adapt these learnings to my own platform, instead of inventing everything on my own and just making everything wrong?
Sure, it's easier and it's cheaper. That doesn't necessarily mean it's better long term. So one of the points I was trying to make is, yes, it's free, and in some cases you can get ad revenue from Facebook. So it's obviously more attractive than building your own thing. In some cases it might actually be better in the short term. I think more media companies need to think about what they're giving up in the long term. So if you're a media company that is interested in getting away from advertising and getting more towards subscription and membership-based revenue, then you need to build strong relationships with your users directly. If you do all that stuff on Facebook, Facebook is the one that benefits, not you.
So what can journalists do to own the platform, to own their own platform?
I think they need to. I'm not telling media companies or journalists that they shouldn't be on Facebook. It's a great way to reach large numbers of people, but it's a great way to reach a large number of people in a really, really shallow way.
Yeah, but that's more about traffic acquisition. But right. Instead of having a foreign platform like Facebook, the key would be to have my own platform. But how do I get to my own platform in the digital age? Because these media companies, they try and try and try to build websites, to build apps, but none of them succeeded in the past.
True, and I don't think that I can't solve that problem. I can't make media companies build better websites or better apps. But I think if you do want to build strong relationships with your readers or your users, that is only going to happen through your own assets, the web, apps, whatever. So you should spend at least as much time, if not more time, thinking about your website and how it's engaging with users, rather than building these giant teams to put all your content on someone else's platform.
But talking in the language of marketing people, they would say, okay, then Facebook is just the lead generation, and the content is nothing else there as a bait. And then the users should follow the bait to another platform. So that's what marketing people do with Facebook. Should journalists then use the platform in the same way?
I think they should think about it in the same way. What am I getting out of putting my content on that platform, other than just reach or whatever you want to call it? What am I actually getting? Are people coming to my own website or my own platform? Are they signing up for things? So conversions, as they call it in marketing. And I think if you look at that carefully, you will realize you are not getting as much out of Facebook as you are putting into Facebook. So who is benefiting from that relationship? Facebook.
Definitely, and you could make the same thing with YouTube and other platforms. And we have the same discussion in the US when TV channels now turn to YouTube and implement their whole TV program into YouTube TV. Or if we see the market when TV channels turn into Amazon Prime and build the whole program into Amazon Prime. So they implement their own content into other platforms. But on the other hand, they don't have to build the platform. So isn't it not only a question of who owns the platform, but also how big and how efficient is my media company?
I mean, definitely a big part of the problem is that media companies have not spent the time to build up their own platforms in a robust way. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why that hasn't happened. So that's not Facebook's fault. It's not Facebook's fault that Facebook is really large and it's really easy to use and you can put your content there for free. That's not, their fault. But media companies, I think, are too eager to hand over all their content and all the relationships to Facebook. I'll give you an example. A Pew Research study found that almost half of the users who found news on Facebook could not remember the source of that news, couldn't remember where it came from, couldn't remember the news company, in some cases couldn't remember the journalist's name.
I think over 70%, right?
It was 47, I think, for Facebook. But so almost half literally didn't remember where that news came from. So all those people are reading your content, but they have no idea that you were involved.
They just scroll through it.
Right. They think Facebook is the source of the news, not you. So again, who does that benefit? It benefits Facebook.
I don't want to stand on Facebook's side. On the other hand, I think it's quite easy to say, don't use Facebook, don't give your content into the network. And when I just compare this with Apple a couple of years ago, no one had a strategy how to sell content on mobile devices. And no one had an idea to build mobile websites. And then Apple came up with the iPad and with the smartphones. And now everyone was building apps. And they're making money with apps. They're making money with, not everyone, but there's a lot of companies who are making money just by packaging their content and making it available for sale through a platform. So what would be the opposite, having nothing?
I'm not saying that everybody should get off Facebook and shouldn't use platforms. I'm not saying TV companies shouldn't use YouTube. I think you should. It's free in most cases. In some cases, you can get revenue, a small amount. You can reach a lot of people very cheaply, so that's good. But I think it's a question of proportion. How much time and resources are you spending generating free content for another company that is going to monetize that content for its own purposes? How much time are you spending on that versus how much time are you spending on your own website or your own apps trying to reach your users directly and build those relationships that you can then monetize?
So that would mean, or is it like using Facebook for traffic acquisition and using the platform, the free platform, for prototyping of content?
I think traffic acquisition or user acquisition is one of the things that platforms are really good at. Your problem as a media company is the conversion of those people from sort of drive-by readers into committed users who will then pay you money for something.
You have a recommendation how to solve that problem?
I wish I did.
So maybe in 20 seconds?
I think media companies have to try harder. Okay. It's easy to give stuff to Facebook and Google and just say, well, there, our job is done. We put our content on there. I think you need to try harder.
Mathew Ingram, thanks for being my guest. Thank you for being at the Medientagen.
Thank you.